Able to live stream today? Okay. Good to go.
Good evening, Council, members of the public, friends of the media. I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, November 25th, 2025 public hearing meeting to order. First up on the agenda of this public hearing is to adopt the agenda. Moved by Councillor Mullick, seconded by Councillor Blanchette. All in favor? It's carried. I will now, under 3.1, read the public hearing statement for this evening's public hearing. This public hearing dated November 25th, 2025, held here in the Village of Valemount Council Chambers at 735 Cranberry Lake Road in Valemount, is being convened pursuant to the terms of the Local Government Act prior to consideration of three items. Number one, Village of Valemount Zoning Bylaw Number 847-2021, Amendment Bylaw 913-2025. Number two, Village of Valemount Zoning Bylaw 847-2021, Amendment Bylaw Number 914-2025. And Village of Valemount Official Community Plan Bylaw 843-2021, Amendment Bylaw Number 915-2025. At a public hearing, any person present who believes they are affected by a matter being considered shall be given an opportunity to be heard on the matter contained in the proposals. Members of the public speaking to the proposal should, at the appropriate time, commence your address to this council by stating your name and area of residence. We do not need your actual address, at which time you may give us the benefit of your views concerning the proposal. Everyone who deems their interests are affected shall be given the opportunity to be heard at this meeting. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views known. All who submit comments at this public hearing will restrict their remarks to matters contained in the proposal, and it is my responsibility as chairperson of this meeting to ensure that all remarks are so restricted. At the conclusion of a public hearing, council may, without further notice, give whatever effect council believes proper to the representation made at the hearing. Item 4, Zoning Amendment Bylaw Number 913-2025, ZA 25-02, under 4.1. We have a presentation from our planner, Ms. Eddy.
Good evening, everybody. So the first item on tonight's public hearing is in regards to Village of Valemount Zoning Bylaw Number 847-2021, Amendment Bylaw 913-2025. This amendment proposes to add short-term vacation rental major as a site-specific use to 1015 14th Avenue, legally described as Parcel E, being a consolidation of lots 50 and 51, the CB 2114269, District Lot 7355, Caribou District Plan 26762. The property is currently zoned R2, single and 2-unit residential. This zone permits short-term vacation rental minor only. For the applicant to have short-term vacation rental major, a zoning amendment is required to add the use to the property site specific. Village of Valemount Zoning Bylaw 847-2021, Amendment Bylaw 913-2025 received first and second readings at the October 14th regular council meeting. Notifications were posted as per the Local Government Act, and residents were invited to provide feedback at tonight's public hearing or via written submissions.
Thank you, Ms. Eddy. And under 4.2, are there any written, do you have any written submissions received prior to these proceedings?
As of noon today, we didn't receive any, no.
Thank you. Under 4.3, we now invite comments from members of the public. Are there any comments regarding this proposal? For a second time, under 4.3, are there any comments from members of the public regarding this proposal? Good evening.
Junior Sajic, Valemount. Just wondering if the proponents are not around, or they didn't want to explain what the process is, what they're going to put there, or why they need to. We
could probably get there after in the next item, Mr. Sajic. 4.4 immediately follows this round.
Okay.
Again, a second call. Are there any comments from the public? For a third and final call, are there any comments from members of the public regarding this proposal? Thank you. Under 4.4, are there any comments from the proponent? Any comments at all? Okay. Are there any questions from council to staff? Thank you. Onward. Item 5, zoning amendment bylaw number 914, 2025, ZA 2503. We have under 5.1 a presentation by our planner, our village planner, Ms. Setti.
Great. So the second item on tonight's public hearing is zoning bylaw 847, 2021, amendment bylaw 914, 2025. This amendment proposes to add campground as a site-specific use to 1340 Main Street, legally described as Lot 1, District Lot 7356, Caribou District Plan 25545, except Plan 30454. The applicant proposes a low-impact campground with unserviced sites and vault-style toilets. The campground will permit tenting, small trailers, and camper vans. Camping for large RVs is not proposed. The plan proposes up to 25 campsites at this time. The campground will be part of a larger development proposal that includes outdoor recreation uses that are already permitted within the current zoning, including disc golf, skills park, picnic and day use areas, along with walking and hiking trails. Village of Valemount zoning bylaw 847, 2021, amendment bylaw 914, 2025, received first and second reading at the October 28th regular council meeting, and notifications were posted as per the Local Government Act, and residents were invited to provide feedback for tonight's public hearing.
Thank you. And under 5.2, have you received written submissions prior to these proceedings?
Yes. So as of noon today, we have received 6 written submissions. So I will read those out for you now.
Thank you.
So first, we received 3 letters with the same contents from 3 separate residents. So these are from Marge McKenzie, Edna Plamondon, and Gloria Luciano. They're all tenants of 1300 Main Street. And the letter states, I am a tenant of 1300 Main Street, and I'm writing in response to a notice delivered to my door. I do not agree with having a campground so close to the creek and the Golden Years Lodge. I believe the campsite will have a negative impact as follows. Number 1, it will invite more bears to the garbage. We already contend with bears, which causes fear to the seniors who can no longer go for their walks. For some, they are afraid to go to their vehicles. Number 2, it will cause more unwanted noise from those who party. The noise carries through our area in this end of town. Number 3, I have already seen people bathing in the creek across from the lodge. If this is a place with no showers and facilities, we will see an increase of this kind of activity in the creek. Is Swift Creek not our drinking water supply? Number 4, unsupervised camping causes many issues from unattended fires. Will be a danger to close homes in the area. Disregarding campfire bans, excessive drinking or partying late into the night. This area also has many seniors and hikers walking in this area. Traffic coming into this area of the village that don't know the demographics will not slow down. We have many functions at the Golden Years Lodge and require parking on both sides of the road and the parking lot. Increased traffic through this area may cause an accident. Number 6, if there was 25 campsites, that could mean 50 to 100 people in the area who are unsupervised, only have outhouses to use. Many have dogs that they let run free and enter the creek or chase wild animals. Thank you for listening to our concerns. Next, we received a letter from Ernie Romano of the Regional District of Fraser Fort George. I am writing in regard to Varda proposed development at 1340 Main Street, Valemount, including their request for zoning amendment bylaw 914, 2025 to allow a campground approximately 25 tents or trailers. Our address is 1720 Main Street, which technically places us outside of the village, but one of our property lines is adjacent to the Varda property, so technically their proposal is directly in our backyard. I can't think of a better proposal to improve the recreational and tourism potential for Valemount on this property. Disc golf, bike skills park, and more trails. An event area and so forth will be much appreciated And of course, a campground to facilitate overnight stay for out-of-town users of these low-impact and interactive recreational tourism facilities. Our children are already extensive users of Varda-managed mountain bike park, and I think the village and council can see that this organization has been highly successful in obtaining funding and managing the bike park in a highly professional manner. Of course, we have some concerns from the campground in terms of campfires, bear attractants, garbage and empty beverage containers, etc. People messing with our horses, as a previous horse of ours died when somebody fed him an oversized carrot, and potential noise. Having attended a few of the last year's biker parties with my teenage daughter at Bike Fest, I'm observed that the mountain biker crowd are pleasant and respectful and cause little to no trouble. In a brief conversation so far with Varda, I am of the opinion that this organization has the knowledge, skills, and manages to get resources that will produce satisfactory mitigation strategies, signage, they do a great job at the bike park, and will promote their campground in such a fashion that there will be the least possible risk. We also talked about campground manager as a strategy to help manage these risks, and Varda was amenable to this idea. Therefore, in conclusion, I am recommending that the village proceed with the requested zoning amendment, and the village also provide any other supports that is possible towards helping Varda meet their objectives and bringing this fantastic plan to fruition. Unfortunately, I'm unable to attend tonight's meeting, so please accept this input instead. Our next letter is from Claudia Frost of Valemount and states, I'm opposed to the rezoning of 1340 Main Street to add a campground. The village spent a great deal of time and money in the official community plan and zoning bylaw, and I believe took into consideration environmental issues. To take a property zoned environmental and add a zoning classification that can negatively impact the environment seems to contradict the OCP. I understand that the proposed campground would have 25 non-supervised dry sites. This would accommodate 50 to 100 people and their pets, usually dogs. Important risks associated with adding a campground to this environmental zone are wildfires, no monitoring of campers, risk of campfires when there's a campfire ban, campfires larger than the half-meter by half-meter, campfires not being extinguished, and campfires left unattended. Campers using Swift Creek to bathe in. This would have a negative impact on the salmon spawning downstream soap. Garbage from campers, even garbage in bear-proof containers, attract bears to an area. Outdoor food preparation will attract bears and other animals to the area. With no supervision of campers, there is potential for damage to the surrounding ecosystem. Self-registration for collection of camping fees does not generate much revenue due to dismal compliance by the users. Varda received a grant, a $300,000 grant from the Columbia Basin Trust to purchase the property to ensure public access to multiple trails and the protection of the village watershed, quoted in the Rocky Mountain Goat newspaper. How does a proposed campground protect the watershed and public access? It does not. You are now creating campsites instead of walking and biking trails. The public would lose access to the campsite areas, and it does not protect the watershed or the surrounding ecosystem. We have always been supporters of Varda and their endeavors. The idea to purchase the Swift Creek property to ensure walking, hiking, and biking trails access for the community was embraced by Valemount. At that time, there was no mention of creating a commercial campground in the environmental zone. Varda received Ready Grant funds in 2025 in the amount of $59,183 for the study of the Swift Creek property. Varda has received grants to first procure the land, next to have the study on the property done, and now it will pursue grants funding to help develop their master plan. Varda, as a nonprofit association, can apply for grants and other funding which local businesses cannot. This proposed campground would have Varda competing with 9 other campgrounds in the area from Alberta to Tijon. Varda has an unfair advantage over legitimate businesses. The Swift Creek Property Master Plan prepared for Varda from McElhaney, see page 11.6, Implementation 6.1 Master Plan Submission, states that Council's support will strengthen any associated grant or funding applications. This implies that Varda will apply for grants and funding to help develop their campground in direct competition with local legitimate campground businesses. This is an unfair advantage over all businesses and is not needed. Considering there are 9 other campgrounds in the area, a zoning amendment for a similar style campground was proposed at 5 Mile, which did not go through for the reasons stated above. Varda is the property owner of 1340 Main Street currently. There is no guarantee that in the future, 5 to 10 years, The property is sold to another entity. Situations change and the owner has the right to sell their property if they choose to do so. What happens to the property then? To the town's watershed and to the environmental zone? And our final letter is from James Plamondon of the Regional District of Fraser-Fort George. This morning, approximately 2 hours prior to the 12 p.m. submission deadline, we received a notification of public hearing for the above amendment tonight. We wish that we had more time to research and explore the impacts of this proposed rezoning and examine the plan that has been put forth for this lot. In principle, we do not oppose the idea of this space being used more fully for the public benefit, but we would like to express several potential concerns that we have thought of so far that could impact our property and the environment if not properly mitigated. Water access. Our property has a water license issued under the Water Protection Act with an assigned priority date that we would want to make sure that any water use on the site did not infringe or affect our water rights. During a call with the Village of Valemount this morning, we were told that there would not be a water supply on the site, or if there would, it would be village water. If this is the case, the concern would already be addressed. Waste. The addition of a campground for more permanent works would require toilets at a minimum. From the conversation with the village, it appears that this issue is addressed as these toilets would ensure that there would not be any waste seeping into the ground or creek, which could impact the water quality and safety. Preventing access to our property. The remaining concern is that we already seen is an increase in foot traffic and bicycle traffic on our property in the last couple of years. Due to our property sharing much of the property line with 1340 Main Street and the fact that there is not a natural or constructed barrier or differentiator between the two properties, we feel it would be likely that this encroachment onto our lot would increase if this development is approved. Specifically, it appears that the intention is to put disc golf course right along the property line. We feel that due to increased use, the respect of the property line will be further blurred if this rezoning and redevelopment proceeds as proposed without a fence or some barrier being installed as a condition of acceptance by the village. Thank you for accepting this submission. That is all.
Thank you. Under 5.3, are there any comments from members of the public? Just, did you hear the preamble? Just need your name and your area of residence, not your address.
Thank you. Yeah. Tony Bielik from Fraser-Fort George here representing Tourism Valemount. I apologize in advance. I did have a much more detailed letter. So please bear with me as I stumble through my phone. So good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. I'm here on behalf of the Tourism Valemount to express our support of Varda's rezoning request. This project is a clear tourism win for the community and proposed campground and event space with much needed capacity for extra visitors, which will bolster and strengthen our recreation offering, which directly supports local businesses in many ways. I appreciate all the feedback that I heard earlier, some of which would be addressed in a later date. Varda has a proven track record for managing the bike park safely and professionally. This development gives them sustainable revenue source to continue building and maintaining the infrastructure that drives tourism within our community. As a designated campground, it also helps reduce the random camping around the bike park, improving safety, fire management, waste control, and wildlife potential. Our position is not about supporting any individual business here. It's about supporting tourism growth as a whole. This project aligns with our long-term strategy and it ultimately benefits the entire community as a whole. For these reasons, Tourism Valemount supports Varda's rezoning.
Thank you. Still under our first call, is there any comments from members of the public? Oh, it's a joint?
Hello, Rob Henniger from Valemount as well, speaking on behalf of the Valemount Senior Citizens Housing Society, both being a resident and staff of 1300 Main Street, the Golden Years Lodge. I was the one that personally delivered the letter to each of the tenants, so I had an opportunity not only to speak with them about it, but to hear some of their concerns and answer some of their questions. What became overwhelmingly apparent was there wasn't a lot of information available. The information I was able to obtain wasn't conclusive in any way. And from what we heard earlier from the residents' group letter, sort of carried their concerns forward. That there's a lot of the concerns come from the unmanaged, unsupervised, unregulated portion of the questions. You know, when there's parties happening or destruction, who do we call? How does this go on? How is this going to be monitored, measured, controlled, and made sure that it's safe? The residents had concern both for the environmental aspects of the area being next to Swift Creek, but also of forest fires being right across the creek from us as well. So I think most of our residents did support the idea of developing the recreational site, having things like disc golf, frisbee golf, further hiking trails and such, but question the need for additional campsite spots. What I heard as an overwhelming response was the unregulated portion. You know, having people be allowed to just freely camp out in that area was just a recipe for disaster, whether it be on a bears attractant or people bathing in the creeks or forest fires breaking out. I think a better job, I guess, at answering some of these questions or addressing some of the concerns with how would this be managed or regulated would be top of mind. Quite a few people did ask on the unregulated part, you know, we're looking to not have random camping around the bike park. Well, now we just have random camping next door to us. Like it's sort of you don't want it in your backyard, so it's going to move to our backyard. And I think unregulated camping of any sort is just a negative deterrent. And there seems to be plenty of camping opportunities in and around Valemount as well.
My name is Claudia Frost, and I'm of Valemount. I wear two hats. I'm also with the Valemount Senior Citizens Housing Society. So everything that Rob said, we of course came directly from the seniors that are in our complex that are right in Golden Ears Lodge. I'm also with Tomcat Enterprises, who does business as Yellowhead Campground. And I know how difficult it is having a campground on Swift Creek. Our campground has always been very strong at ensuring that people don't go in the creek, people don't fish in the creek. We have rules, we have regulations. Not everybody always likes them, but we put those out there. We have people that, even though we have beautiful bathrooms and we have two chemical toilets, porta potties, we still get people in the area, in our campground, going in the bush. And this is, it's almost really hard to eliminate that, but we do our best. And I have staff that we're constantly checking those areas and making sure and picking up, putting out fires, people having fires, even that they're told, and that's part of the rules, don't have a big fire. And all of a sudden, there it goes, this huge fire is happening, and it's right underneath or very close to trees. So we're always having to monitor. And it's not just a simple thing to say, oh, let's have it unregulated, because we can all see the disasters that can happen when people walk away from a campfire and leave it burning. So those are some of the concerns. And also, of course, now we have a nonprofit association competing with businesses. And, you know, I'm totally in support of Varda and the bike park and the pump park and the disc golf and all of that, and the biking trails, the hiking trails. We don't want to lose that. And I understand the reality or the idea behind buying that property, but it seems to have changed. Thank you.
Thank you. Still under our first call for comments from the public. Are there any public comments? Second call for public comments regarding this proposal. Third and final call for comments from members of the public regarding this proposal. Thank you. Do we have any comments from the proponent? Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Curtis Pollock, Valemount. Thanks, everybody, for coming, and thanks for listening. I appreciate the concerns. I really do. You know, Varda understands community, and we value this property, and we also value our watershed and the environment that it surrounds. You I'm going to read off of this because I spent a lot of time on this because it is a bit of a passion project for not just myself, but for the association, I believe, as well. This is why our group took on the work and the initiative and the funding to purchase this unique space. We wanted it to protect it from private investment that could have negative effects on our community and its members. We did get grant funding to purchase this property, but let's please remember we did put in $100,000 of our capital from our membership revenue, our fundraising. So we did put some blood, sweat, and equity into this as well. We completely understand it's a new idea, and with anything new, there are legitimate questions and concerns, and they are legitimate. Our intentions are good. Over the last 21 years, VARDA has worked diligently to improve our local snowmobiling industry, including safety, sustainability, economic activity, and all of this for the benefit of the locals. We've created the local business community as well. We've created the world's only snowmobile-assisted ski hill. We took on the vision of a local's dream and created one of the most sought-after bike parks in British Columbia. That has incredible spin-offs for the local community, campgrounds included, and both social and economic benefits. We believe we've made these activities safer, more respectful, and more accessible to locals and visitors alike, and we do not believe that our ideas to enhance the Swift Creek property would be any different. The key development areas, we take our neighbors, the creek, the watershed, we take it very seriously. Everybody has the property itself has a 30-meter setback on all key components, and that's well beyond what the requirements would be from the creek. And that would be in our potential plan. And let's please remember this is an idea, this is feasibility. We need to see what we can potentially do with the property before we move forward. The idea would be potentially up to 25 spots, yes. We're focused really heavily on that, and that part, those 25 spots, are for sustainability. We talked about VARDA coming to the READY grants. Yes, I understand. We go to other grant providers. Yes, I get it. That's what we do. That's how we make the amazing things that we've done for the community. But part of this was how do we continue to make this property beneficial for the community? The walking path that people are using right now, how do we make it better? How do we keep all the dog stuff that's happening on there right now? How do we keep it better? How do we keep it maintained? Cut the brush back, more signage, the walking trails that everybody loves so much. How do we keep that stuff maintained without having to come back to READY every year and trying to be more sustainable? And that's where the idea of the campground portion came from. I don't think any of us want to be business owners like this or campground owners, but we're looking for ways to become more sustainable. And how do we start doing our own revenue generation so we can leave the grant funding to some of the people who might need it more and not have the potential that we do. I also think as far as the campgrounds go, we do have amazing campgrounds in the valley. We have a potential because it's such a dry site, we do have a potential. What I mean by that is no sewer, no main water, is that we have potential to open way earlier to service the bike park and their visitors, and as well stay open a bit later when everybody closes down. So I think that's another benefit. There's a large community space in this. Parking, we'll get parking off of the main street. Access will not be down that super crazy hill anymore. It is techie, even for me to walk up. I don't like it. So better parking, more accessible parking, accessibility to the walking area. I'm going to call it the dike area, accessibility to the walking area. All of these are improvements, plus a public pavilion for birthdays, events, a soccer game, who knows. It is a space for the public, walking trails through it, disc golf as well. It still has the public first. We're just trying to find a way, how can we do all of this and maintain it at the same time? The concerns we have heard, they're all legitimate, and we hope we can help mitigate them, primarily by following the examples of BC Parks. All this stuff has been done before. We understand they are all legitimate concerns. The word unregulated has been thrown around quite a bit tonight. I'm not sure. Maybe I've missed something in the original proposal. I don't know where the word unregulated came from. Somebody has to collect fees. Somebody has to maintain the site. Somebody has to clean everything up. There is, I'm not saying there's a plan in place, but there has to be a plan in place. Yes, there has to be a business model. There has to be a maintenance model. There has to be some way to collect fees. Certainly not unregulated. Bear activity, the full intention, we understand it. The full intention is to maintain the same standard that you'd see in provincial parks with bear-proof bins and food storage for those who need it. We do what we can and the best we can. Noise, we want to be good neighbors. I was very pleased to see the letter from the Romanos. I think we've been great neighbors with them for now, and we continue to be in the future. Signage and regulations would be the standard, is the same with provincial campgrounds that highlight quiet hours and personal responsibility. Creek use, this one got me too, I get it. Plans for the water stations are included, so in the main campgrounds, there would be water access just to a spigot, as well as the main parking area. We talked about no development that would allow or promote access down to the creek. So when we walk the property, of course, the designers are, hey, let's build something down here, let's build something down here, and it was a hard no. There is going to be an access trail or two from the area out to the dike. No enhancement whatsoever down from the current walking trail down to the creek. Zero enhancement. There's nothing in the plans, and there will be nothing in the plans. Can we stop people from going to put their foot in the creek? Probably not, but I bet everybody in this room has probably done it once or twice as well. And that being said, our watershed is a high priority for us. Increased traffic, I'm not going to deny it's going to increase traffic to the area, but please remember, our community could have been completely blocked off by this of this property if if another proponent purchased the property. We would lose the historic walking trail, all the places that we hold dear, walking along the water. It could potentially have been lost. Campfires, this again can be managed with regulation and oversight, although there is a strong concern for sure. Being a private property, I think we can create our own regulations regarding campfires and timing, and I believe this will help reduce the risk. We have the ability to remove fire pits anytime we want. If there are fire pits, we don't even know. We have the ability to pull them, move them. We don't need to necessarily listen to the regional district regulation. If we are concerned, we can pull them prior to that, in which I think I have felt many times that fires should not be allowed, and they're still allowed. And then maybe we can set an example and we can pull our pits before that. Providing a small campsite has the ability to reduce undesignated camping. We're seeing a ton of that around here, where no fire rings or bathroom facilities exist. Due to the location and the desirable location, we believe we can pull some of these boondock campers out of the woods and into a more sustainable place. That's all I have for now.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Are there any questions from council under 5.5? Councillor Pearson.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of a concern regarding the vault toilets, just because this is a floodplain. I know it's on the other side of the dike, but in the event something happened, I love the idea of having toilets in that area if you get caught walking the dog. So I'm just wondering if there is a plan and that they would be sized appropriately, because I've been to the bike park base on a busy weekend and it is to the brim. So
yeah, we did a survey this year, and that's actually the thing that needs to be remedied, or not remedied, but needs to be improved. We've utilized local companies in the past, and we think that has to be continued. So, but regarding the vault toilets, these are vault, they're not pit, vault toilets for sure. And there is, they will be, I'm not gonna say how high, we take the floodplain into consideration, and to get 2 or 3 feet above ground for the entrance to that's we got big problems. Yeah. So we are highly aware of the concern of the vault toilet and believe we can mitigate it.
Yeah. Follow-up?
that's all for me.
Councillor Blanchette?
So there are plans to have and employ a caretaker at this campground?
I'm going to be frank, there's not a lot of planning. This is feasibility, right? So we are seeing what can be possible on the campground and how much can we invest before we continue to move forward. This campground cannot be operated without a manager, or two. It simply cannot. This is 7 days a week throughout the summer, early season to late season. It's creating local employment, and it simply cannot be operated without maintenance, fee collection, and some sort of oversight. So unregulated, I guess, it doesn't have 24/7 oversight, but it's not unregulated.
So would it be in comparison to the caretaking job at the marina, just as an example?
Well, the
Where they
person,
have-
actually, yeah, that person is only at those I would have to say yes. That person's only at those campsites usually once a day, does some cleaning in the morning, and then,
But they're
twice a
still
day.
on site at the marina, and then they go out to the thing. But so there is a 24/7 caretaker over the summer.
They're down at those campsites once a day, though. Yeah.
Follow up?
Further questions, Councillor Mullock?
Sure. Because I guess you had, and thanks for some of the clarification on this. You had mentioned about the revenue, you know, the fact that you're looking at revenue generation. I guess I have some reservations about this, just because the idea of a 25-site campground. If you are going to have somebody, if it's self-registration, you do have somebody come periodically, but 25 campsites does not generate a lot of revenue, particularly if you're going to be having to have someone paid to go and check this campsite, to do the garbage, to do the cleanups, to clean the fire rings, to show up there now and again. So I guess that's where I'm challenged to see that you're making enough money to make it viable. You know, so I guess, yeah, I guess where I'm challenged here is I don't have enough information on where, and I appreciate what you're saying, that it's just a feasibility, but it's I just don't have that sense of comfort, I guess, you know, with this currently, you know, and you know, and I guess I had heard a number of people mention already in the letters and otherwise the idea of this property and doing all of the other attributes that you're going to add to it, I think is going to be a wonderful addition to what you've been doing at the bike park. This one, I just don't know if it's fleshed out enough to make me comfortable yet, but I'm willing to be convinced.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. With all due respect, everything's right. I want to make clear there has to be an attendant. We didn't say this was going to be cheap. The location of this site, its location. Being boutique, being small, being to pedal directly from your site into the trail system. We believe it's something you make it sound fancy, and we can make it well. Right now, we are making $0 a day off that property. So from say early April to mid-October, if we had at 20 sites, you know, if we charge $30 a day, I'm not saying we would, maybe more. We're looking at, you know, $600, over $600 if it's 25 sites. We pay somebody $200 a day to do the maintenance, maybe $220 a day to do the maintenance. And I'm just throwing numbers out there, but we're still making $400, $380 a day, 30 days out of the month that we are not making right now. And yes, we understand the public is very excited about disc golf and pump tracks, and so are we. But how do we make it sustainable? We get a little bit of feedback about us applying to local grant sources. It's not going to stop if we can't start making our own money.
And yeah, one thing I might suggest too is that you look into so you know, you have given a little bit of a more of an idea that there is going to be somebody there, but the idea of self-registration, unfortunately, I do have a lot of experience with self-registration, and unfortunately, I find compliance is very, very low. Typically, you have to come up with some mechanism to enforce if there's no one on site, then people typically don't pay. I've seen it at campgrounds, I've seen it at sandy stations and other things too. If
Councillor, are you actually saying that you've run into some dishonest people before?
Sadly, yes. But yeah, that and that's my point, is that you need to look at, you know, a realistic number that you're going to be doing, depending on how you do it, depending on how you're going to address the idea of having somebody on site. You know, as Councillor Blanchette had mentioned earlier, you know, if you're having somebody close that can, you know, it's all in that visibility.
Ernie volunteered as children. But okay. with all seriousness, I do understand there are also BC park models out there where it is reservation based. It is well in advance. It is all digital, and then once a day, prime hours, people come around, double check the sites, make sure people have paid, sites are reserved, flags are on them. There's It's not reinventing the wheel, and it all does cost money, but it's all possibly managed.
And last but not least, the one thing I have to mention too is that, of course, it's a campground and it's for anybody to use, not just mountain bike park users. It could potentially be for anybody.
Absolutely, 100%.
So that's where you don't, the idea that you might have people that are typically very good is not necessarily always the case.
I understand, yeah.
And that's it for me.
Thank you. Before we go back to repeats, we'll have a OG come in. Councillor McLean.
Do I get a water? I've been talking lots.
We actually can take a break.
No.
Go ahead.
I do have concerns about bears being attracted to the area, disruption to animals using the stream, that kind of stuff. But I also do have concerns about competing with private businesses. I just do. And I can see it if nobody else was providing a service. Is there any way that you could do something else to monetize?
Don't know, but without competing with another group of private businesses, I'm not sure. I would like to think that with what we provide in the form of recreation opportunities, marketing, with the people that we bring into this community, I would like to think that we support local business 1,000% more than we would be competing with the local business.
You absolutely do, but it would be nice to see if there was some way to monetize it. Wasn't it?
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Just,
Absolutely.
I think that your plan and the things that you're going to put in it are, as long as the concerns expressed by the people in these well thought out letters are addressed.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Just going to get a procedure question. If I were to ask this of staff, is it now or during?
I think that would be during consideration.
Councillor Pearson.
That may have taken care of my question through the mayor to staff. So we're dealing with the zoning and OCP amendment for this project. Feasibility study is at this point. Do we have an opportunity to revisit this other than third reading? So if we pass the bylaw changes and such, or do we have a chance to see what comes out of the feasibility study for further development of the project?
Look to staff for procedure. Ms. Eddy? Excuse me, Ms. Pollock.
Yes, so after the zoning amendment, it isn't in an environmental development permit area. So the plan will come back once it is finalized for final approval for a development permit before any construction or anything takes place.
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer your question between third and fourth?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. You, Councillor Blanchette, you had a follow-up?
No.
A thought? No? Okay. Okay, if there's no other questions from council, thank you. I will now adjourn this public hearing.
We have another. You got one more?
Oh, no, I will not adjourn this public hearing because we have an official community plan amendment bylaw number 915, 2025, and a presentation from our good friend Michael Van Housen of MVH Urban Planning and Jonathan Schmidt of Blue Rock Planning. Are you both gentlemen here?
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Okay. Good evening to you, Michael, and to Jonathan. Under 6.1 of this public hearing, please feel free to present next steps for official community plan amendment bylaw number 915, 2025.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Pleasure to be here. See you all again. My name is Michael Von Housen. I'm president of MVH Urban Planning and Design, and I'm joined by Jonathan Schmidt this evening, my partner on the project. We are here tonight to present our results of the OCP update review and also the zoning bylaw review. And the primary objective of this official community plan update and zoning bylaw review is to comply with the provincial requirements to integrate the village's housing needs into the village's OCP and zoning bylaw by identifying how the village will meet its housing needs over the next 20 years. By doing so, the village aims to ensure future growth and development addresses housing affordability, diversity, and long-term sustainability for the community. So one of the things, as I just mentioned, we reviewed the zoning bylaw. And the good news there, it complies with provincial housing requirements for municipalities under 5,000 in population, which must allow accessory dwelling units in all serviced residential zones. This means, in this case, the village's R1, R2, and R3 zones comply with this requirement, and thus no amendments are recommended currently. In the case, and you see the display here in the map display in the OCP recommended amendment, which is called the Housing Unit Calculation Map, in the proposed official community plan, the total area is measured in terms of subdivided vacant lots, unsubdivided residential and mixed-use lots, and underbuilt parcels. It also illustrates the number of housing units that can be accommodated under the current OCP and zoning bylaw, which is well over 3,000 dwelling units and far exceeds the calculated housing needs within the housing needs report. Now, in conclusion, we'd like to point out the 4 different housing types that I've just outlined all provide distinct development opportunities. For example, existing subdivided vacant lots are opportunities for small builders or homeowners to construct a single detached unit or duplex in some cases. Unsubdivided vacant lots provide opportunities for larger developers to construct entire subdivisions. So in conclusion, the results of the analysis show the village has more than enough land to meet its housing needs in the next 5 and 20 years. Its zones also accommodate the requirement for accessory dwelling units. The total number of housing units that could be built within the village exceeds 3,000, which would be a very significant increase in the village's population. So it's all good news, and thank you. And we'd love to answer any questions you have or the public has.
Thank you very much, Michael. Under 6.2, have there been any written submissions received prior to these proceedings?
As of noon today, we haven't received any for this one.
Okay. Given this proposal under 6.3, are there any comments from members of the public? First call. Second call for comments from members of the public regarding this proposal. Third and final call for comments from the public on this, from members of the public regarding this proposal. This is your OCP, your official community plan. Thank you. Ms. Eddy, as the proponent, do you have any further comments? Thank you. Questions from council under 6.5? Michael?
Yes.
Given the requirement moving forward for OCP reviews, official reviews, as well as housing assessment need requirements, I believe it's every 5 years now.
That's correct.
Do you anticipate similar findings 5, 10, 15? I know we're looking 20 years out, but council has a responsibility to look 30 and 50 years out.
Yes.
When you speak to an availability of 3,000 units, that's 3 times our current population. How do you anticipate in your field, or Jonathan as well, you're both planners,
Yes.
do you normally see this type of population explosion? And 2, do you often see the availability of housing like this and not see an explosion in housing?
Well, that's interesting. That's a very good question. I'll ask also Jonathan to comment after I comment. This is an incredible opportunity. You live, being an avid skier and outdoors person like Jonathan, we just love your community in terms of opportunity. This is a finding that, you know, in some respects, you're prepared for any development. Although across British Columbia, we're going through, call it a flat period. So we see this as an incredible opportunity. And as a bonus, we did, when we completed the official community plan earlier, you have the Ash Street property that provides you, that is owned by the village, provides you an incredible opportunity, as you've seen with some seniors housing, to provide opportunities for provincial applications for further seniors housing or conventional housing that could be a great opportunity, especially with the move to provide more affordable housing, more accessible housing in the province. So from my experience and our clients, both Jonathan and I, we work with developers, we work, and the other 50% are with municipalities. We don't find normally this incredible opportunity of undeveloped and developed lots, and your opportunity for additional accelerate development units provide that mortgage helper for those people who need that extra income, and it provides an opportunity to also provide more affordable units in your community. Jonathan?
Yeah, thanks,
Through the mayor.
Michael, and through the mayor to council. I think it is a huge opportunity, but it does give a bit of a mixed message to the market, because with so much vacant land available, the market can kind of think, well, why, right? They ask the question of why. I'm also working in Fernie on their OCP right now, and obviously they're landlocked and, you know, looking for places to grow. And so I think the challenge for the village will be, how do you message the vacant land to the market? And you can do that in various ways, but Michael knows in some of his economics analysis over the years that you want to market that, you want to pitch that the right way so that the market doesn't get the impression that there's something wrong, that there's a reason for it, and you don't want to kind of shy away the right development in the right place for the village. So, Michael, I'm not sure, you know, in your years of experience, where you deal with that. I know we were in other communities where there was kind of an oversaturation of commercial zoned land. It was vacant, and you know, you often had some comments on that. Is you want to manage that vacancy level, kind of that kind of message to the market in the right way.
That's it, through the mayor to council. That's a very, in my other life, I teach development economics to developers. And so this supply and demand, normally, as Jonathan just pointed out, excess supply normally means the price comes down. And so representing, again, what I like is that there's a diversity of choice of different kinds of lots, the infill versus the new lots, plus the master planning. We were just looking at some of the master plan parcels that have an opportunity to create a unique addition to the community, a diversity of housing. So the good news is you've got lots of supply. As Jonathan pointed out, the question is, how do we represent this as an economic development opportunity at the right price in the marketplace, if I could represent it that way? Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Just a response, glad our EDO is back in the saddle. Questions from council? Thank you very much, gentlemen. We will conclude this public hearing, and I will adjourn now officially at 7:55, not at 7:43.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you very much. Okay, now call to order the Tuesday, November 25th regular meeting of council to order. First up is adoption of this evening's agenda with, no, there is a other cover sheet somewhere. Thank you. Thank you. I have the original. As adopted as amended to replace the staff report under item 6.5, council remuneration bylaw with the amended staff report. Moved by Councillor Pearson. Sure, you can have that. You can have that back. Second by Councillor Mullock. Any further additions or deletions, amendments? All in favor? Carried. Under 3.1, adoption of the minutes of the November 12th, 2025 regular meeting of council. Councillor Mullock, Councillor McLean, are there any errors or omissions arising? All in favor? It's carried. We do have a delegation this evening under 4.1 from the Valemount Community Forest, here to present to the shareholder, Miss Alana Duncan. Yes, there she is. Welcome. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay. I don't have a very long presentation, as it is my first one that I've given. So if you guys have any questions or in the future going forward, if you'd like to see anything that I've missed, please let me know. You can either let me know this evening or an email is fine. Yeah. Very tiny. Possible to read.
I see why you put it in there then.
This is a recommendation from Anne. If it was bigger, it would be better, but basically it's just a 2024 summary comparison to the 2025 financials for just the year to date, and obviously not audited yet. So just as a comparison, so we could did month to month. Did have a to the year before. Road building, and I started the program of road deactivation, which so are you we did a lot of harvesting a year because there were actually high prices, and because of this that's another. Our previous GM left in April, so I just started in middle of April. All very new, so please bear with me.
Congrats.
So this year was kind of spotted by natural disasters. As everyone knows, we had crazy amounts of rain this year. A large slide up Westridge, which took quite a few months to arrange with the geotech to get it properly cleaned up and the road restabilized, as well as like precautions for going forward. such as like no stopping zones, just to like prevent any incidents with the public. We also had one up what Dave Henry plugged a culvert and a portion of the road. One of the biggest things that happened this year that I find hardest to deal with is, or not maybe the hardest to deal with, but I find unfortunate, is that the ministry did not consult legal before making decisions about our 1CP, which is our blanket license we hold over the 2 COMFORs. And because of this, we'll have to reapply for new CP, which is an 11-month process. Only 2 years instead of our regular 4. Spoken with the ministry. They are sorry, but and as for the rest of this winter, because of the tariffs and everything going on with the states, a lot of the mills in BC have curtailed operations and are not offering good prices for lumber this year. So we are decreasing pretty much all of our harvesting. And we are mainly keeping going just to keep our local contractors employed and busy. To show this is for 2025, our community support, our grant recipients, donation recipients, in-kind recipients, discretionary. As of RC, let me know that it was local community, various clubs, events that and looking forward, we are super excited that we're working with this company called Amplify to help work on a communications plan. We're actually having an open house on Saturday at the Legion. This is going to discuss like how we would like to communicate with the public going forward and get any feedback on any lack of communication or things people would like to see or how they would like to be communicated with better. And that's for the public, that's for shareholders, that's for holders, basically everyone communicate with or we're hoping to continue to work on our business plan and other plans the village has recommended we work on. We are hoping to hire a full-time operations supervisor because one, operations supervising and managing is a little bit too much for me. Right now we currently have a contracted operations supervisor. However, he's retired and kind of wants to go back into his retirement. But
Don't know why.
What
I
nerve.
really appreciate his help right now. It's great to have someone who's been around and knows. As of Friday last week, we have hired a communications and administration assistant. So they will be helping with this plan that Amplify is helping us develop, as well as doing some of our minute taking and hopefully keeping our website a little more up to date going forward. We were trying to increase our STI, which is our standing timber inventory, so that we have more options for when we do have these dips in the markets or when we have high pieces in the markets. So just basically better all over planning overall for the COMFOR going forward. And obviously we would like to continue to redevelop roads because it reduces general logging costs when the roads are and fixing them.
Thank you. Motion to receive the delegation by Councillor Blanchette, second by Councillor Mullock. Questions for the delegation?
Comment.
Yes, please.
I think for your first presentation, it was very good. Thank you very much.
No questions from the public, please. Mr. Sachek, this is a delegation for council. If you want to talk to Ms. Duncan, their doors are always open. I have a question. For your STIs, your standing timber inventories, can you give me an example of your higher value wood that you would prefer to leave standing now and build roads into now to get them set and seasoned? What kind of species are you anticipating that might look like? How quickly do you think the markets will be viable enough? A, the cost of the road, and B, the cost of not logging now.
Currently are logging. Have 3 contracts. For stuff that I don't the markets first stands because the peeler markets dropped.
Peelers dropped $75?
Ish. I didn't get a very good quote for peelers.
Thank you. Further questions? Councilperson?
First question is, can your presentation be emailed to staff to be distributed to us so we can see the numbers? Okay. Because I saw nothing up there, so. So 2 questions, and one follows along Mayor Torgerson's question. So when you're looking at pre-developing roads, how far ahead do you look for developing roads into areas of the standing timber inventory? Thank you for explaining the acronym.
So it's very dependent because of where we're at right now. So for winter, a little short term, frozen, as long as you do appropriate deactivations. Currently, so they do, but with blocks that for a couple of years, road development just because
More funds. Okay. And my second question is, what is the impact of the having to reapply for your CPs? Kind of impact is that delay gonna?
Well, as long as I can get the difference is full. Ministry. After my a lot of
Yeah.
didn't want
No, thank you.
Just for clarity, having 2 community forests, K2T and K5Q, used to come with just 1 CP for multiple years, and then the ministry moved to 1 CP per block.
to know if the old district manager was wanting to potentially get rid of 1 CP as a blanket district, but all of the district got together and we had some meetings and we discussed ways to move forward with district. They would let us keep them, but we would originally be granted 4 years. States, essentially, where they would reapprove the 1 CP. Then, so I just submitted and got approved. And after they approved my, they can only.
So now you get a 1 CP for a 4-year period, reviewed annually Okay, and then result, and those are recorded in results and HBS, and then that information, that data, ministry can make a better decision or a more efficient decision-making process on your CPs heading into the future?
Bulk email.
All for me. Further? Thank you very much, Ms. Duncan. And was I correct? Your door is always open?
Yes.
Okay. 9 to 3. Any further comments, questions regarding the delegation? All in favor of receipt? It's carried. Under administrative reports, 5.1, council remuneration review panel recommendations, we have another presentation. This time by our very own CAO, Ms. Ann Yansu.
It is a presentation, kind of an evening, but we've recently...
Why we have these big, beautiful screens. Not a big, beautiful bill, but a big, beautiful screen.
There you go. We just completed a really important process of council remuneration review. And that's a really hard thing to do for councils because they're caught between trying to be responsible to the public and feeling that it might have some self-interest in recommending or approving remuneration increases or even considerations. So UBCM has come up with a process that they recommend where an independent panel of citizens looks at the remuneration and makes those recommendations entirely independent of input from the council. So we advertised for probably 4 or 5 months. Anyone who is curious about this process here tonight and would feel or feels as though they would have liked to have some input, they are very, very welcome to apply in 4 years when we do this again. But we did end up with a panel of 4 citizens, 3 business owners. So those people would feel any tax, property tax impacts from both a residential perspective and from their business property perspective. We had a nonprofit represented. The purpose of that panel was to have that objective view on elected official remuneration and provide that taxpayer perspective. This panel was tasked with 3 considerations. Normally, a panel such as this would be tasked with considering fairness to the taxpayer and fairness to the elected officials. But Valemount's unique and didn't have an election last time around. And so we're working hard to consider the attractiveness of the elected official role as well. So that factored into the consideration for this panel. They met twice. We had originally only scheduled 1 meeting, but they were very thoughtful. They worked hard to consider all aspects. They discussed the pros and cons of almost everything. They reviewed current remuneration and comparisons with other communities. They reviewed the travel budget and comparisons with other communities and the purposes of that. They reviewed the per diem and meal allowances. They reviewed the travel allocation process, and then they reviewed benefits. So what did they find? This is a terrible image here of on the right-hand side. It's the comparison communities that we ended up with. Council may remember that months ago we asked them to approve a group of comparison communities, which is always where you start with the best intentions, but collection of data is more difficult than you always imagine it will be. So we weren't able to collect sufficient data from the comparison communities approved. So we expanded that list. The communities we used are on that list there with their populations on the far right. So as you can see, the 2024 remuneration, oh, by the way, we used 2024 numbers because we were able to have a full year of data that way, but the amounts would be applied to the 2025 numbers. You can see that Valemount is below average. Even if 10% were added, it brings it to just slightly below average. Travel budget comparisons, those were even harder numbers to come by. But you can see that a number of the communities had or did provide their travel budgets. This is one place where Valemount is higher than the average. But one reason might well be because of the remoteness of our community. Travel is very expensive from here. The nearest airport is 3 hours away. And anywhere where conferences or events are held is going to be quite a distance. These are the actual travel expenses from 2024 and 2025. And you can see the 2025 UBCM, where 4 councillors attended, the expenses for that one event alone exceed just a little over $20,000. So it's really tough to have a travel budget that's much lower than our current travel budget. The group also looked at benefits, and they really wanted to discuss strategies to attract more diversity on council. We have quite a relatively young community, and they felt that it would be great to have young people and families represented on council, and benefits might be one way to do that. Benefits are quite expensive. In 2023, the quote that we were given was $462 per person per month, which totals $27,000 and $727. Anyway, the number's on the bottom there. For benefits for council. Every term, it is an option for council to consider benefits, but that's a hard decision to make with numbers like that. The panel really wanted to ensure that their considerations they wanted their recommendations to reflect these particular points, that this is a role, council's role is that of ambassador for the community, one of council's roles. And there's a high degree of professionalism required in the role. The remoteness of Valemount, again, I think I mentioned that already, where travel costs are going to be higher. The complexity of the role, the decisions have a great deal of complexity to them. The importance of training for the role. They had quite a conversation on that, and that travel might be required for that as well. The degree of commitment required, we've gone to 4-year terms, and it's not only the twice-a-month council meetings, there are a lot of other meetings that are required. You're appointed to various committees. I've heard that every hour spent in a meeting is worth at least 2 hours of reading. It's quite a commitment. It's a sometimes thankless role. And there is a sometimes difficult tone in social discourse, which might discourage people from the role. So their recommendations were based on equity. They felt that it was important that the total remuneration of any form be as equitable as possible for each councillor. They were based on transparency to the electorate. Individual agency over event attendance and spending for elected officials. Encouraging fiscal prudence. Developing better travel budget awareness. The compensation and remuneration philosophy principle of being between the 50th to 60th percentile of comparable local governments. And finally, attracting a more diverse demographic to serve on council. So their recommendations were that the mayor remuneration be increased in 2026 from the 2025 amount of that amount before applying CPI. Council, I should read those out because it is a real recommendation. $23,161.44 to $25,477.58. Councillor remuneration be increased in 2026 from the 2025 amount of $11,898.84 to $13,088.72 before applying CPI. Both of those would be a 10% increase. That individual travel budgets be allocated to each elected official. That the 2026 travel budget increase from the 2025 amount of $30,000 to $7,000 per councillor and $14,000 for mayor, for a total of $42,000. And that each elected official receive a $1,000 per year health spending account. That $1,000 per year would compensate for being slightly, the recommendation of still being slightly under average for comparable communities, because it would add $1,000 to each elected official, essentially. We've been in contact with we're just in the process of reviewing our benefits and have gone out to market for a benefits provider. And our director of finance has been in contact with that benefits provider, who has some cautions around a health spending account that might be used for anything that would be considered medical because of privacy concerns. So if there were a health spending account, it might be administered internally and simply be for things like if you wanted a piece of fitness equipment, or you wanted to enroll in a yoga class, or you wanted to have a massage, or something that is sufficiently healthy, but yet not medical. Alternatively, the health benefits provider did say that they could look at administering a health benefit or health spending account, but I'm not quite sure what that would look like if it was managed through the benefits provider. They had 3 additional recommendations that were non-monetary, that the remuneration be well, that one is monetary, but it be increased annually by the CPI, which the village has a practice of doing. That reporting on travel budgets occur quarterly, and that the health spending account be only for elected officials and not for dependents. If council were to take all those recommendations, it would have an impact in 2026 of $26,000, $26,021.49. One final thing that was important to note out of this process from the panel and from staff are that these implications are primarily for a future council. You are not really doing this for yourselves. We have an election less than a year from now, and there will be a new council for whom to whom this will apply for 3 years of their term. It's an investment in the future and an investment in the organization. And it represents that panel's best efforts at fairness for everyone. Council has 3 options coming out of this. You could accept and implement all the recommendations for 2026. You could accept all recommendations and defer implementation to 2027, or you could amend those recommendations. Does council have any questions?
Councillor Blanchette?
Are we able to opt out of the health spending account if we so wish?
Given that we haven't really designed that yet, I think that would be an option.
Something to put on the board if we want to. I know previous councils before, we were able to opt out of health coverage if we didn't need it. So that would be around the same thing that we could opt out.
Most of the benefits providers will provide health benefits to council as a whole. At least we're charged for council as a whole, rather than individual,
But this
just
would be a
select councillors.
separate.
Correct. This is a separate process.
Follow? Other members? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate the presentation. No motion required, but is there any comments, surprises? I'll maybe start with gratitude to the panel for their time and a lot of breakdown of what this council does earlier term. And thank you for highlighting the 4-year term now versus not so long ago, a 3-year term, and just before that, a 2-year term. Thank you for that. Anything further?
Just a quick comment, and again, thanking the panel and acknowledging that they wanted a second meeting. I don't think this could really have been done in one meeting. This was a pretty intensive breakdown, so I appreciate their work.
Yeah, I'm absolutely certain there was a lot of sleep on it decisions there. Okay, on to 5.2, UBCM Active Transportation Planning Grant. Looking to approve staff to apply to said planning grant for the maximum amount of $30,000. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Mullock, thank you. Discussion? No guarantees in the grant world, but happy to see this one. All in favor? Carried. Bylaws and policies, 6.1, Village of Valemount zoning bylaw number 847, 2021, amendment bylaw number 913, looking to be given, 913, 2025, sorry, be given third reading. Councillor Mullock. Councillor McLean, thank you. Discussion on third. All in favor? Carried. 6.2, Village of Valemount zoning bylaw number 847, 2021, amendment bylaw number 914. We have a couple recommendations here. First off, that the Village of Valemount zoning bylaw number 847, 2021, amendment bylaw number 914, 2025 be given third reading. Moved by Councillor Mullock, second by Councillor Pearson. Discussion. Councillor Blanchette.
How soon is it that fourth read comes? Third, I don't remember.
How soon to the planner coming to the podium does fourth reading happen after third?
Third reading's even tonight, fourth will come on December 9th.
Okay. Might as well stay there, Miss Eddy. Further questions? Discussion? Given the complexity of this rezone, was there consideration of a temporary use permit during the planning process?
No, we did not consider a temporary use permit.
My mind goes there simply because once a rezone happens, it happens. Versus a temporary use permit, you have a lot more legislative teeth. And there's an expiry date. Can this be given third reading? Does it automatically go to fourth, or can fourth be postponed for further review?
Sure.
I'll take any answer. Once third happens, third happens. Follow up, Madam Administrator?
Bylaws can sit on the books for years and years and years at third. They often do. If
The great chicken debate of 2014 is still at second reading. Really? Really, really.
Oh, bringing that one back.
Just because, we sit on third until we get a feasibility study back, so then we can vote on if we're moving this forward or not, or what's happening, or?
I can't speak for the proponent because the proponent may be waiting for some certainty to move forward. I'm sure many of the actions to implement this plan or to move forward with feasibility are probably costly, and without some certainty, that might be a difficult decision.
But so is doing the zoning bylaw. So we need to try and get this in tandem, right? So we have to make sure that the decision we make tonight, we're not able to go back if we need to at some point, or if.
That might be a question for Ms. Eddy or the proponent.
Well, it'll be for Ms. Eddy at this point.
So what is the question?
Yeah. So I want to make sure that just speaking for myself, that if whatever decision I make tonight, if I need to go back and change it for good or for bad, or if the proponent needs to go back and change it for good or for bad, that we're able to if it's sitting in third reading. Because we're going to say yes to this zoning bylaw, and all of a sudden, Varda just decides, you know what, we don't want to go ahead with this program or whatever. Are we able to then cease the zoning?
Yes. So it can sit at third reading. Once you give third reading, like Carlina had said, no amendments can be made. It will go to fourth. At that point, it can sit at third for as long as you want.
But there can't be any amendments.
No, you can choose to request more information and we can bring it back for third at a later date. I believe that would redo the whole process of the public hearing.
Who's looking at?
If amendments are sought in the future, you could rescind third, which means that we go through the entire process again of advertising, notification, and a public hearing.
Just to reiterate, that Pete had asked the question earlier about the development permit comes after. I think you'll see more details there. The zoning amendment is to add the use to the property. They still are required to go through the development permit process to develop the campground or actually anything on there. So there is another process later, but we are just adding the use at this time.
We're just adding the use to the list of other uses.
Follow up?
No, I'm good.
Person?
So clarifying that, thank you. Then that being the case, we can move forward without, I mean, I like the idea of the temporary use permit to stopgap until we do fourth, but That being the case, that this just adds that use to the property, doesn't say, yes, you can go ahead and do it. I think I'd be comfortable with that. And then when it comes to a development permit, that's when we have our decision of yes or no.
Thank you. Further discussion, questions? This is the time, folks. Just reiterate information from staff. Once third is established, there's no amendments moving. You can. Okay. Then, call the question. All in favor? Carried. Second recommendation that the proposed master plan for Lot 1, District Lot 7356, Caribou District Plan 25545, except Plan 30454, 1340 Main Street, be approved in principle. Moved by Councillor Pearson, seconded by Councillor Blanchette. Discussion on approving in principle. Any clarity needed?
Just clarify for everyone what in principle approval means.
Ms. Eddy?
Yes, so in principle is, you're not approving the plan as it is. You're just approving that you support, I guess, the activities on the property. It still has to go through the process. It's more just a technicality than anything.
Yeah, it's saying that we're on board with VARDA doing this within the boundaries, which, I mean, we know that their track record is fantastic, but we do have citizens that have some legitimate issues, which they have said, we understand and we hear you and we're going to work with that. So in principle, we're agreeing that we want to, you know, put our faith as, again, in VARDA, and we'll move forward together and see what happens.
You could also recommend amendments to it or get them to come back. If there's things that are unclear, you don't have to give the approval in principle today. We can always bring that back.
Yep. I just want us all, everybody, and for those that aren't able to be here tonight, to just hear what this actually means, that we're moving forward together to a point, and then we'll go from there later on.
Follow up?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Eddy. Further discussion, questions? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. 6.3, Village of Valemount Official Community Plan number 4843, 2021, Amendment Bylaw number 915. We are seeking third reading. Moved by Councillor McLean, seconded by Councillor Mullock. Thank you. Discussion on third. All in favor? It's carried. 6.4, Village of Valemount Fees and Charges Bylaw number 869, 2023, Amendment Bylaw number 916, 2025. Looking for third reading this evening. Moved by Councillor Mullock, seconded by Councillor Blanchette. Discussion on third. All in favor? It's carried. 6.5, Village of Valemount Council Remuneration Bylaw number 917, 2025. Looking for first and second reading. That's a big hand up right there. Councillor Blanchette moves, seconded by Councillor Mullock. Discussion on first and second. Again, thank you to the panel. Thank you for the staff support to the panel. Looking forward to third and see what that brings. All in favor? It's carried. 6.6, Council Event Attendance Policy number 98, looking to approve. Councillor Mullock, thank you. Second, Councillor McLean. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Reading file, fairly extensive for just a 2-week period. Lots of FCMs and lots of UBCMs and lots of ministries and lots of members' bills. Well, just one, but anything folks would like to bring to surface? Councillor Mullick.
I guess I just have to say, getting back from UBCM, I was saying how optimistic I was at some of the meetings that we were at, and it was really nice to see this letter from the Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General outlining some of our discussion.
Yeah.
That was really good to see.
No, thank you. The letter to Premier Eby regarding Bill M216 from the Professional Qualified Alliance. Also know in our Regional District Board meeting last week, the board approved staff to send said letter from our chief planner onto the ministry regarding the absolute necessity to question and to review findings from independent qualified professionals. Councillor Pearson.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I agree. I mean, after reading some of the stuff that this bill entails, not along with offloading the expenses, they're going to tell you how they're going to spend. We're going to spend their money. So,
Spend your money.
I would support a similar letter from council.
Moved by Councillor Pearson that a similarly worded letter as the Regional District Base Fort George be forwarded to the Honourable Premier Eby. Seconded by Councillor Mullick. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. Anything further from the reading file? Okay. No correspondence for action this evening. We do have a notice of motion from myself under 10.1 with following motion being brought forth for consideration at the December 9th, 2025 closed meeting of council pursuant to section 91E of the Community Charter. The council approved staff to compile a budget from the past 3 years of the Valemount Regional Airport operations, primarily to evaluate the financial impact of recent upgrades, including the implementation of precision approach systems and expanded fuel services and other BC Air Access Program funded capital projects. We need a mover, or is that just a notice? Or is there any questions on the notice?
Clarification that the notice of motion comes to an open meeting to be brought forward at a closed meeting.
I will refer to Ms. Shepherd.
Thank you. So the actual notice of motion request is in itself is not a item. The discussion that you'll be having in relation to this data and why you require it is a closed discussion. So transparent, we can bring this motion and take it to, and then we can report out.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Further discussion? And I am completely unprepared for my council report. So I'll go around the room at 12.1. Hopefully they are long in reporting. Councillor Mullick.
November 13th, attended UNBC Mountain Research Team Open House. November 17th, attended a Trans Mountain Pipeline Open House. Very interesting. November 18th, attended a Tourism Valemount meeting. And then that evening was a Valemount Entertainment Society meeting. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Kitty Corner, Councillor McLean.
I only had two things. On November the 13th, I, along with Councillor Blanchett, attended the Clean Air Task Force meeting. And on the 19th, I attended the Valemount Community Forest regular meeting. Yeah, but I don't attend that on, that's a private, yeah.
He's just resident McLean. Councillor Pearson.
Actually, only one item to report, November 18th, the Valemount Community Wellness Table meeting, and hoping that we can report soon the development of a Robson Valley Health Services website in development. The beta version is being reviewed, and hopefully we can announce that soon. That's my report.
Councillor Blanchett?
Yes, on the 13th was the Clean Air Task Force meeting, and on the 18th, like Councilor Pearson said, the wellness, and the website's really looking great right now. Amy's doing a fabulous job at RPCS doing it. It's looking good.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert, it's looking good.
Okay. Had a CAO, I could forward this to you, Ms. Shepherd. Had our weekly CAO check-in on November the 17th. And then that day, the TMX open house was able to not just ask about their application to the Canada Energy Regulator and the addition of a lubricant within the pipeline, which would increase their output or their transportation of barrels per day, but rather question their devaluation, which will hit taxation within the regional district on that particular resource. I was told fairly with a straight face that it wasn't them for asking for a devaluation. So take that for what it's worth. Regional District Fraser Fort George has sent a letter to the Ministry of Finance. Of course, BC assessment is independent of the ministry, but asking Minister Bailey to just hold tight for 2026 for a more comprehensive review of all pipelines, utilities, including things like CN Rail, TELUS, Bell, the whole kit and caboodle on transmissions and telecommunications. The 20th had Regional District Fraser Fort George Board. Chair Beckett was nominated once again and acclaimed as chair, and Director Arcane again acclaimed vice chair. Did attend the UNBC mountain and geohazards update. I think the highlight for me was the tilt meters built from off-the-shelf components that can be placed in the Swift slide area to measure in real time any movement of that, and having to be able to pick the sensor up and then look at the laptop and then tilt ever so slightly, and it would register, record, then provide like a threshold. So like a little movement's okay, but you know, if you tilted your hand like this, it'd be like a bunch of red numbers coming up. It would very, very cool. And then this morning, I was successful in having a virtual meeting with our MP Zimmer. I managed to catch him at the right time. Wanted to bring him up to speed on BGDR, the state of connectivity, so all things federal, the state of connectivity and the devaluation of the TMX pipeline. Make sure it's on his radar. And also wanting to ensure that any proponents in the North Peace, so Peace River Regional District, you know, making sure it's on his radar so that other communities and regional districts might be reaching out. Making sure he's not here in the headlights. And then it's my understanding that he is trying to be here in person sometime in December. Keep you all. I'm sure there'll be opportunity for members of the public to have coffee with Bob. That's my report, I think. Questions, comments? Under 13.1, you have the calendar events for information for November and December. And under 14.1, we have time for public comments on items considered by council as part of the approved agenda. Are there any public comments this evening? Thank you. And look at that. We are not going in camera this evening. Therefore, I will ask for adjournment. Thank you, Councillor Pearson. 2049.